Alright, chug that water.
First thing to know when buying a house in Charlotte is make sure you have space for your Peloton. This is not an ad, but it can be if you want to send me another bike.
Gotta put on my lipstick.
It's chapped lip season now. This is not an ad, but if you want to send me a year's supply of Blistex, it can be. Is that good?
I like that one.
What's up? It's Andy G here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I get a lot of questions about the home buying process and some of the nuances of putting together transactions and putting deals together and buying houses here in Charlotte. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to go over some of the frequently asked questions and help answer them. In North Carolina, the sellers pay for both agents' commissions, so you do not have to pay for a buyer's agent commission. One thing that I'll do for every buyer, when I fill out the buyer agency agreement, I will specifically write in the compensation piece of that the seller pays the commission. So that way, whether I'm getting paid 2%, 2.5%, 3%, 5%, whatever it is, you do not have to worry about paying for my commission because the seller is paying for it. So the short answer is there are not inspection contingencies here in North Carolina. The way that it will work when you conduct the inspection is we will do the inspection, you and I will sit together and figure out what the most important items on that inspection report are, and we will go to the seller and request certain repairs or credit for those repairs to be made. Because in North Carolina, every house is sold as is. Even if the house is falling down or there's a hole in the roof and you can see the clouds from your bedroom, the sellers are not required to fix anything. And I cannot stress enough that the sellers are not required to fix anything. So if the inspection comes back and it's really bad, the first thing we want to do is go over that together and make sure we can figure out in line item what the most important things are. I always like to compare a bad inspection and walking away before requesting anything from the sellers to folding in a game of Texas Hold'em before you even see the cards come out. At least give yourself a chance and try and ask the seller, because you never know if a seller may be open to fixing everything. So if you have a water heater that's bad, if you have structural issues and it's $15,000 worth of work and the seller is willing to do that, then why not ask them for that? So due diligence and earnest money are two checks that you'll have to write at the time of going under contract. You don't have to pay them to offer on the house, but you have to pay them once your offer is accepted. The way I like to compare them is due diligence is a non-refundable deposit that you pay the seller. Earnest money is a check that you write to the closing attorney to open the escrow account. The way that the due diligence works is you write that check to the seller and basically you're paying them to take the house off the market and allow you to inspect the home. That money is non-refundable. So no matter how bad the inspection report is, if an appraisal comes in low, if you choose to walk away for any reason, the seller gets to keep that due diligence fee. The earnest money is refundable until the due diligence period is over, which is in this market typically around 3 or 4 weeks. Once that due diligence period is over, that earnest money becomes non-refundable because that's essentially like good faith money. So you don't wake up the morning of closing and decide that for $1,000 you don't want to buy the house anymore. Both of these fees will get credited back to you at closing. The first thing that I always recommend doing as soon as we get off of our buyer consultation, whether it's a phone call, Zoom call, drinks, whatever it is to get pre-approved. It is so unbelievably important to get pre-approved because most sellers require that for showings and will require it for offers. Every broker has a different way that they handle sales. The way that I like to do that is not by being pushy at all. I like to make sure that you're as prepared as possible, and that's why I strongly recommend having a pre-approval. I like to speak very transparently and very honestly when we're walking through homes, and I like to view myself as a listing agent in the next 5 years when you go to sell that house. Because statistically speaking, you'll only live there for about 5 years. I always tell people that I don't care what you buy or when you buy it. And the reason for that is because I want you to care what you buy and when you buy it. And the reason that I always say that is because I'm not going to push you into the first house or the highest price house that we see. I want to make sure that you're in the right house for you and whatever your needs are. While we're on showings, I always like to make sure that we are talking openly and honestly. It's not my house, it's not my renovation, it's not the house that I grew up in, so I'm not trying to sell that specific house, I'm trying to sell the right house for you. So you're not gonna hurt my feelings if you don't like something, especially if you hate something. It's good for me to know what you don't like because that way I can keep that in mind when we're looking for future homes for you. Whether you're buying new construction or a resale home, it's very important to get a third-party inspector. With new construction, I always recommend doing an inspection at the pre-drywall and then potentially another one when we get ready for closing. With resale, it's incredibly important to have an inspector, and I have a couple different inspectors that I know, like, and trust that are on part of my vendor list. They know what it looks like to go under houses every day. They inspect these homes. They'll usually do 3 or 4 a day. And so they're true pros when it comes to the ins and outs of every single house. My recommended vendors are simply that, recommendations. I recommend them because I know that they do great work for me and for all of my clients. That being said, if you have your own vendors that you trust or you have someone that you have a relationship with that you'd like to work with, great, let's do it. Yes, you do. New construction can be very confusing, and when there are a lot of different pieces to the puzzle of new construction, you need someone who can help advocate for you. Because if a builder decides to push your closing 7 times, or the builder puts in the wrong countertop in your master bathroom, you need someone who can push that builder representative to make those changes and help advocate for you. So, frequently here in Charlotte, you'll find yourself in the middle of a highest and best or multiple offer bidding war scenario. When that happens, there are a few things that I like to do to make sure that I can present you as the best buyer for that seller to work with and present myself as the best buyer's agent for the listing agent to work with on a cross sale. There are a few different things that we can discuss to make sure that when we are up against multiple other buyers who are at similar offers, there are certain things that we can then do to make sure that we're not only the strongest buyer to work with, but also the most desirable buyer to work with. I always say logic makes people think and emotions make them act. And there are things that we can do to pull from both of those. So if you're looking to buy here in Charlotte and you want to learn more, there's my phone number. There's my phone number, there's my email address. There's a million different places on here where you can reach out to me. And if you want to also set up a home search, you can do that right here with some of these buttons here. So look forward to talking to you.